Family, this episode is close to my heart because I'm not talking from a mountaintop. I'm talking from lived experience. Unfortunately, this world teaches us to perform and not to be real. And if you're not careful, you wake up one day living a version of yourself that's not even you. Trust me, I've been there. So today I'm not preaching. I'm sharing. I'm learning out loud with you. Let's get into it.
We've got some difficult days ahead. I just want to do God's will. I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
That if you stand with Hashem and you stand for what's right, you will march across the finish line. You will have victory.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to another episode of Kosher and Black. I am your host, Yirmiyahu. I'm so glad you decided to join me right here on this show for a little while. Listen, if you haven't done so already, please follow Kosher and Black on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Consider putting it in your favorites as well, your favorite listings, and also on social media, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram. Just search Kosher and Black to follow us on there. And if you have WhatsApp, I do have a WhatsApp group as well. All these links will be in the podcast show notes. I want to get right into this episode because I don't want to hold you long. So I'm going to be real with you. There were many times in my life where I cared way too much about how I came across, what people thought, how I sounded, how I posted, how I dressed, how put together my thoughts were, especially in this age of social media. It will have you feeling like you're living in a spotlight that you never asked for. And most of the time, it's not reality. It's just our perception. And the crazy part, it's not just about being flashy. Sometimes you start performing religiously too, posting every mitzvah, sounding quote unquote deep so people think you're more learned than you are, and curating spirituality like it's content. And I've slipped into that. I'm not above it. None of us are. But Judaism doesn't ask us to perform. It asks us to show up and to be honest. There's a line from the Chofetz Chaim that always checks me. He said something like, if people praise you, that's their business. But if you start believing it, it becomes your problem. Whew. That's the danger of the world we live in. You start believing you're the image you created. But Torah reminds us you're not what people say. You're not what people post. You are who Hashem knows us to be. And let me tell you, Hashem knows the real you. The version behind the scenes, the version that's tired, the version that's trying, the version that's broken in pieces but still pushing. That's who he loves. And that's who you need to stay connected to. It's not about performance, because if we get caught up in performance, we will be stuck in a cage of performance all of our lives, always checking how we look, always checking our hair. Am I ready for this? Am I ready for that? And we'll perform so much that we'll forget not only who we are, but we'll live a life that's not satisfying because we're not living for the pleasure of Hashem. We're living for the pleasure of all the people around us. And sometimes it's not about even the people outside of our house. Sometimes it's about the people inside of our home. We have to be real with ourselves. We have to be real with our spouses. We have to be real with our children. Because wouldn't it be a shame for your children not to know who you really are? For your spouse not to know who you really are? And it's never too late to be the authentic you. Performance is captivity. And last I checked, Hashem, with a strong right arm, took us out of the land of captivity. And we should not live in captivity in Mitzrayim, nor should we live in captivity of our own performances. You have to show up and you have to be real. Now listen, I always got to say this. I'm not a scholar. As most of you know, especially a part of my community, I'm new to this thing. I'm learning like everyone else. But I'm not out here quoting pages and pages of Gemara. But there's a teaching from the Pirkei Avot, which I try to read every night before bed. Sometimes I mess up, sometimes I forget to do it. Haven't done it in a while, actually. But it speaks to this struggle of performance. It says, in a place where there are no men, strive to be a man. Meaning, when integrity is scarce, when everybody's performing, right? You step up. When authenticity is gone, you keep it alive. And let's be honest, realness is scarce right now. People build entire lives online that fall apart the moment the phone turns off. But here's what hits me even harder. The Talmud teaches, again paraphrasing, trying to keep it simple, that when you pretend to be more righteous or more spiritual than you really are, it's like stealing. Stealing the truth, stealing honesty, stealing the chance to be human. And I don't know about you, but I've been guilty of trying to look more, quote unquote, spiritually impressive than I actually was. Again, we're all guilty. None of us are above it. But it wasn't out of ego. Sometimes and most of the time, if you guys are like me, it's out of insecurity because you believe that, man, this guy knows all this Gemara. This guy knows all this Torah. He's memorized or she's memorized the whole pasuk or memorized the whole parsha. And I'm sitting here either hearing it for the first time, learning it for the first time, and I don't know any of it. But I have to pretend like I know because the person next to me knows it all. But you don't have to pretend. You don't have to pretend. You can free yourself from pretending. You don't have to perform. So a lot of times when we perform, it's not about ego and it's not really trying to be flashy. It's about insecurity, trying to make up for what you believe you don't have to show people that you have it. And my brother, my sister, you don't have to do that. You can be free from all of that. I'll be honest. I didn't know if I was going to say this or not, but I'll be honest. When you're Black and Orthodox, people see that as an oxymoron. And I'm not talking about people like in the community or anything like that, but definitely people outside of the people in my job, people in my family, right? Old friends. You feel like you're always being watched. You're always being measured. Is this thing real? Is he serious? Did he really go through a conversion process to be Jewish? Is he really Orthodox? What does that mean? Man, this is just a phase. I don't know. It's almost like you're always trying to prove yourself in two different worlds. And that pressure, it can turn life into a performance real fast. But authenticity, it's holy. Because over time, I mean probably in the last couple of months, I realized I don't have to perform for anybody. I don't have to prove anything to anybody. I can authentically be myself. Let me be honest with you once again. I was quite confused, taken aback, kind of frustrated even. We went through the conversion process to become Jewish, and I had to pick a Hebrew name. Because in my head, I already have a Hebrew name, Yirmiyahu. I mean, that's authentic Hebrew name, you know? So I'm like, man, I already have one. And then I'm like, well, can I just write Yirmiyahu down? Like, no, you can't do that. Okay, well, so I picked Baruch Ruel Nachman. That does have a lot of meaning to me, right? One, Baruch means to be blessed. Ruel means a friend of God. So when I'm called to the Bema, they're calling the blessed friend of God. And then Nachman, I study a lot of Rabbi Nachman. He has a profound, his Torah, all that has had a profound impact on my life. But that's a Hebrew name that I had to choose in passing, not a name that I got a chance to sit down, think really, really hard about it, pray about it, all that stuff. That's what I did with Yirmiyahu. When I changed my name 5-6 years ago to Yirmiyahu, that's what it was. That's what's on my social security card. That's what's on my driver's license. That's what's on my concealed carry license, all this stuff. That's my name. That's my legal name. My legal name is Yirmiyahu. So, but in an era of performance, I thought that I had to go by Baruch, and I was pulled from one side to another. I really wanted to tell people my name was Yirmiyahu, but I feel like the expectation was Baruch because that's after the conversion process. That's how my rabbi introduced me to everybody. So it's like this new soul, this new neshama is Baruch. You can no longer call him Yirmiyahu. But then over time, I realized like, no, I'm Yirmiyahu, and that's who I am. When I get called to the Bema, it'll be Baruch Ruel Nachman, and that's 100% fine because most people, if you meet John, they're not going to call John to the Bema, right? They're going to call, Shlomo, Ruel, Ben Yehuda or somebody. And that's his Hebrew name, and that's okay. So I like Yirmiyahu because that's my name. That's the name I got to choose for myself. And Baruch, I got to choose for myself as well. But again, just an example of how you can be easily pulled into era of performance. It doesn't have to be this big grand thing of pretending like you're something you're not on Instagram, but it can be a thing of, well, I think people want me to act this way or say this thing, so I say it. I don't necessarily believe it or know enough about anything to have an opinion, but I make an opinion, and the opinion is going to agree with the majority of the people around me because I don't want to seem out of place or out of way. Groupthink is a huge danger. Maybe I'll do a podcast about that. But yeah, performance is heavy, ladies and gentlemen. It can be heavy. It can be a lot of pressure. But authenticity, not only is it holy, man, is it freeing. To be who you want, to say what you want to say in the context of Torah, in the context of midot, in the correct midot, right? We don't just go out there flapping our mouths and disrespecting people. But if you have a real honest opinion on something and it does not vibe or go with the rest of the room, it's okay to share that opinion. It's okay to do that. If this is authentically who you are, not to share something to be provocative, not to share something to, piss somebody off, but this is what you're really struggling with, and this is your true opinion. And if you're wrong, that's okay. That's why you share the opinion. If we can be authentic enough to share an opinion that may be wrong, hopefully I believe that we're authentic enough to be corrected in the moment as well. All right. But let me give you my journey with identity and authenticity, right? Just in these last few months. So let me break down this from my heart. So being Black and Orthodox Jew, there's not a lot of Black Orthodox Jew. What I found that most Black people and we just did a whole podcast about Black and white and I understand with the rabbi is very good. If you have not listened to that, please go back and listen to that interview I did with Rabbi Mordecai Yosef. It's amazing. But Black, white, Hispanic, these are the social constructs of race that people are used to. So although I don't subscribe to them, I will use them because it's easy for people to recognize. But anyhow, so being Black and Orthodox Jew, most Black people that convert into Judaism, I found that they go either the conservative or reform route. I've not studied why that is, but it is. And then the ones that come into the Orthodoxy, they usually go very Hasidish. I don't know why that is either. Haven't studied that. But I found myself in the modern Orthodox world where there's not a lot of Black Orthodox Black Jews in the modern Orthodox world. So you're walking in your own lane, your own journey, your own story. People don't always know where to place you. Some question your background, some question your sincerity, some question your identity. And it can make you want to perform to fit sometimes their expectations. I've been in that position many of times, trying to sound extra learned when I wasn't, trying to dress extra yeshivish with the black hat and the jacket. And that just wasn't me. I tried it, and I don't know if I did it to try to fit in, or I don't know. I thought that was the expectation. And again, these last maybe last month, very freeing, right? You get trapped into code switching between communities and trying to please everybody. But here's the truth I learned. The world doesn't need your performance. The world needs your presence. Rabbi Nachman said something simple but powerful. A person has to find their good point and hold on to it. A person has to find their good point and hold on to it. He didn't say find your perfect point. He didn't say find your holy point. He said your good point. Meaning, you don't have to be flawless to be authentic. You have to be honest and honest with yourself. So, what did I do? I took off the black hat, put on a Rebbe Nachman, because that's what I want to do. It's more me. Instead of the coat, if I decide to post this video, I don't know, I'm testing out the whole video thing. Work with me on that. But anyhow, you see, I'm wearing a hoodie. That's what I do. For the most part, if it's not cold outside, I'm wearing a black or gray t-shirt with some black pants and some flashy, colorful shoes and some flashy, colorful socks. That's what I like to do. That's what I'm comfortable in. That's me. So again, you don't have to be flawless. You don't have to be perfect. You have to be authentic. Be honest. First with yourself and everyone around you. Almost done. Just want to touch on a couple more things. And I hope this is really helping you guys. I sound like I'm all over the place, but I don't know. Anyhow. So let's talk about some practical ways to stay authentic. For someone like myself who struggled with authenticity, not because you're trying to be dramatic, not because you're trying to be fake, but you're really trying to find yourself. So what I found is going through this conversion process is really you're having, and I think I've said this before, and I don't want to make this sound too dramatic, but you're literally having an identity crisis in public. You're dealing with a new soul. You're dealing with a new community. You're dealing with a new reality. You're dealing with a new name. You're dealing with a new set of values. You're dealing with a new way to do your life. Your Sunday through Sunday changes, right? It's not the same anymore. Waking up early in the morning to davening, making sure you're getting there from Minka Mariv, studying the Torah, going to Kolel, whatever it may be. Definitely Shabbat day is a whole different thing, especially with your family. So I'll be transparent. I lost a family member just this weekend. One of my cousins passed away. The oldest cousin of my grandma and grandpa. It's the first cousin born to my grandmother to my grandmother and grandpa, and he passed away. I don't know if I'm going to make it to the funeral or not. I don't know. I'm not going to violate Shabbat, and that side of my family is not Jewish, so the funeral is on Saturday. So I'm struggling with what ways do I show up both authentically as a Jew, but also as a loving family member, because I'm both. I love my cousin. I love my aunt, my uncle. I love my grandma. I know she's hurting. My grandpa passed away back in 2016. I love my mother. This is the first nephew that she ever had, the first nephew or niece she ever had. Growing up, changing his diapers, babysitting him. It's a hard thing, but how do you balance, especially when you've converted into Judaism, how do you balance the world of Judaism that you've just come into, But then a family that's known you all your life and have these expectations of you as well that's not Jewish. And they don't care that you violate Shabbat. They don't care that you all they care is, man, Yirmiyahu wasn't at the funeral. He must not care about his cousin. So sometimes these are the things that you have to juggle coming into Judaism. Now, obviously, if you're born into Judaism and you decide to if you even bought the shuv, even though that's a hard thing because your family's not used to you being religious, they're used to you going out to the restaurants with them and the clubs and all these other different things, and now you don't do it anymore. But hopefully there's a level of understanding there. For me, for my family, for my wife, they have no clue whatsoever. But yeah, I'm still trying to juggle that. So I'll let you guys know that outcome and let you know what I did, that I stay in Memphis. I'm definitely not violating Shabbat. So I would definitely be in my community and in my shul during Shabbat. But the question is, after Shabbat is over, since it's the winter, do I get in the car, drive 8 hours home to be with the family? Do I wake up early Sunday morning and go just to be present? And then I have to come back for work on Monday. It's the end of the year. I mean, I can't, I take off a lot of days for holidays. I have to be present at work as well. So it's all these different things that you're kind of juggled and pulled different ways. But let's talk about some practical ways to stay authentic. All right. And hopefully that story helps somebody. If you're listening to this, you're thinking about conversion, you're in the conversion process, whatever it may be. Just know it's not easy. It's hard, but it gets easier over time as people understand who you are, as you start to find who you are and start to be authentic. Don't feel like you have to perform for anybody, because you don't. You really, really don't. People already love you for who you are. If they don't, that's not the people you want to be around anyway. Anyway, let's get into this segment. We're almost done. So practical ways to stay authentic. So number one, do a heart check before posting anything on social media. What are you doing this for? Am I posting this to inspire or impress? Would I still do this mitzvah if no one knew I did it? Is this coming from my soul or my insecurity? The Lubavitcher Rebbe spoke often about intention, and intention is what keeps your ego in check. Before you press send, before you press post or done or whatever app you're on, me included, make sure you're doing this because this is who you are and what you want to do. I'm not trying to impress nobody. I'm just authentically trying to share some of my life with someone else. That's it. Not a fake life, not a made up life, not a fake moment or a made up moment. I want to bring some of what I share and what gives me joy to somebody else. For instance, that's the reason why I do the quotes with the rabbis. That's the reason why I do the Thursday Thoughts. If you're on my WhatsApp group, I just started a Thursday Thought. The stuff I study through the week or the quotes I hear from rabbi. I looked up a bunch of quotes from rabbis just for inspirational quotes to try to get me through the day. I need if you ever seen Bad Boys, it's one of my favorite movie franchises. But on the second movie franchise, the first one, they go through all this stuff and it's very traumatic and they got to go through therapy. So by the time the second movie comes, one of the detectives named Marcus, he's talking about how he has to, he does his morning breathing and he woosah, woosah. That's what he does. Very funny. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's not for kids though, but yes. Anyhow, that's kind of what the quotes from the rabbis became to me. It became my way to relax and to let go a little bit and to kind of start my morning off after prayer, coming after Shachrit is you feel good, you've davened, you've talked with God, but then you roll up to that parking lot at work. And sometimes you're like, man, I don't want to deal with these folks. I really don't. And that's when the quotes from the rabbis came in very helpful. And I said, you know what? I don't want to keep this to myself. I want to share this with the world. I want to, there's somebody else out there that needs to hear this. There's somebody out there that needs to be inspired, that needs that woosah before they walk into their job or while they're at home watching their kids, while they're about to study with some more, with another kavrusa, whatever your life dynamic is. I figured someone else needed that. And that's why I shared it. So if you're sharing stuff for inspiration, if you're sharing stuff from your soul, if as long as you're not doing it just to be seen, so people say, "Oh man, look at him, look at her, look what they're doing." If it's just innocent, and you truly just want to share a piece of your life because you know it's going to help somebody else out, feel free to do it. But if you're doing it to perform, if you're doing it from a place of insecurity, because you believe this is how people want to see you, or you should be seen, I wouldn't press the share button. I wouldn't post it. Work on yourself. What you can do is go into seclusion, go into hiding for a month. You don't have to get off of social media. Just don't post anything for a whole month. I know it can be hard because you want to one up this one person, or you want people to see how you're doing. But if you're really insecure and you know you are, or you're doing stuff so people can see you, take a social media fast for about 30 days and see how it works for you. Secondly, build real life moments that never touch the internet. Some blessings need to be private, ladies and gentlemen. Some struggles need to stay sacred. Not everything has to be content. Your soul needs a quiet place. If your whole life is lived through social media, if your whole life is lived through sharing your every single waking minute on WhatsApp to the community group, what space have you created for your soul to just be? Sometimes we need those private moments. You don't need to share everything to the WhatsApp group. You don't need to share everything to Instagram or Facebook. Sometimes we just need to chill. And WhatsApp included. Maybe you need to take a 30-day break from WhatsApp. Not post anything on WhatsApp. Not your kids' report cards, not this pretty flower you saw, not the challah that you baked, not the trip to Israel that you took, not the Gemara that you're learning. Just chill for a whole month and see how that works for you. And if you can't do it and you're itching to get on there, you know you suffer from performance. All right. Number 3. Do at least one secret good deed a day. Just one. I've been told that the Chofetz Chaim lived this way. He believed that the mitzvot that nobody sees shape who you are more than anything that you do in public. A private act of kindness anchors your heart. Number 4, tell the truth about who you are. You don't have to spill all your trauma. But don't pretend either. Being honest about your struggle doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. I'll say that again for the people in the back who didn't hear it. Being honest about your struggle doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Number 5, give yourself permission not to be perfect. This is a big one. The Rambam says to view yourself as halfway in always in motion, always becoming. The mindset frees you from performing perfection. Say that 5 times fast. The Rambam says to view yourself as halfway, always in motion, always becoming. That mindset, again, frees you from performing perfection. Number 6, feed your soul daily, even in tiny ways. One small teaching, one small pasuk, one small idea, not to show off, but just to stay grounded. What I've done was help me a lot in this area. The Chabad.org or .com, whichever one you click on, but it has a daily study with Rashi. It goes through each of the aliyahs. So instead of trying to consume the whole Torah portion in one day, you just go through each of the aliyahs. And then I have this book that one of my good friends gave me. It's an idea, a thought from each of the aliyahs, and it breaks it down by portion. So that's been really good to me, and it's really helped. So taking things in increments. And also we know that the Rabbi Akiva, he wasn't learned until he was 40 years old. And he was inspired by this rock that had a hole in it from the water dripping on it. And he understood that it's this small little increments a day that will get you to your goal, not these huge overarching transforming moments. Number 7, choose purpose when popularity calls your name. Popularity is loud, purpose is quiet, but purpose lasts longer. Say no to anything that makes you betray your soul even a little bit. Lastly, the Midrash says every human being is an entire world, not a persona, not a brand, a world. You, with your history, your identity, your struggles, your victories, you are a world Hashem has handcrafted himself. And guess what? Hashem didn't make a mistake with you. Hashem didn't ask you to imitate anyone else. Hashem asked you for you. Not the polished version, not the perfect Jew version, not the curated version, the real you. The version that's been through things, the version that has wrestled with identity, the version that knows what it feels like to be misunderstood, overlooked, or questioned. The version of you is precious to Hashem. This version, the unpolished one. And I know that because I've had to learn it for myself. So if you take anything else from this episode, and I hope it helped, because I feel like I was all over the place, but this is something that I really been wrestling with and really wanted to share for a long time. So I hope it was coherent enough for someone to be blessed by this. I want you to take this away. Don't perform your life. Live it. I'll say it again. Don't perform your life. Live it. Don't chase fame. Chase truth. Don't trade your authenticity for applause. Choose faith over fame. I'm talking to myself. Because faith will carry you when fame fades. Heaven isn't looking for perfect people. Heaven is looking for honest ones. And if you stay honest, if you stay aligned, you will stay blessed. I love you. I see you. I've been where you are, and I'm walking this journey with you. If this episode touched you, share it with someone who needs that reminder. And next time, stay rooted, stay bold. This has been Kosher and Black. Light up the darkness, change the world. Peace.